Imagine a world where a nation with limited resources quietly outsmarts the biggest defense powers, building fighter jets that are not only battle-ready but also affordable, exportable, and adaptable. This is exactly why Western defense experts are now watching Pakistan's jet strategy with more curiosity than they'd ever admit out loud. Cost-effective innovation is at the very heart of why Western defense experts are paying close attention to Pakistan's jet strategy. For decades, modern fighter jets have been seen as symbols of prestige and raw power, but the price tag attached to these advanced machines has become astronomical. Western nations have sunk trillions into programs that often take decades to produce results, only to end up with aircraft so expensive and complex that even their own militaries struggle to maintain them in sufficient numbers. Pakistan, however, has charted a different course, one that favors affordability, efficiency, and pragmatism over flashy extravagance. By focusing on building highly capable fighter aircraft at a fraction of the cost of Western or Chinese counterparts, Pakistan has demonstrated that effective air power doesn't have to bankrupt a nation. This model is proving deeply attractive for smaller states that cannot afford billion-dollar jets but still need to secure their skies and project a credible deterrent. It is in this space of practicality and cost reduction that Pakistan has created something unique, a defense approach that appears modest on the surface but has far-reaching implications for the global balance of military power. Unlike Western defense projects, which often spiral into bloated budgets and political wrangling, Pakistan's model prioritizes results that can be fielded quickly and efficiently. The JF-17 Thunder, for instance, has become the flagship of this philosophy, produced at a cost that is nearly 10 times lower than advanced fifth-generation aircraft in the West, yet still incorporating modern avionics, weapons systems, and combat performance sufficient to meet real-world battlefield demands. Cost-effective innovation here doesn't just mean making a cheaper jet, it means maximizing combat readiness without unnecessary financial strain. This approach allows Pakistan to continuously upgrade the aircraft with new technologies while keeping it affordable for export markets. In other words, cost-effectiveness is not achieved by cutting corners, but by striking a careful balance between affordability and performance. For Western defense experts, this is something worth examining closely because it challenges the very business model of their defense industries, which rely heavily on high-end contracts and massive government spending. Pakistan's method raises the uncomfortable but pressing question: is it possible that smaller, more flexible nations might leap ahead by focusing on affordability rather than over-engineered perfection? The implications go further than simple economics. By mastering cost-effective innovation, Pakistan has opened the door to a level of strategic independence that many nations crave. Defense is not just about having the most sophisticated weapons, it is about ensuring that these weapons can be produced, maintained, and deployed without being crippled by financial burdens. Western experts recognize that this model provides long-term sustainability, something their own defense industries struggle with as budgets balloon and procurement schedules drag out for decades. The ability to field affordable, capable jets in large numbers offers Pakistan an asymmetric advantage that does not rely on matching the West plane for plane, but instead on offering flexibility and resilience. This is the subtle genius of Pakistan's cost-effective innovation, and it explains why it has become an area of quiet but serious study among defense circles worldwide. The JF-17 Thunder program stands as one of the most significant milestones in Pakistan's defense history, and it is precisely why Western defense experts have been compelled to observe it closely. Developed as a joint venture between Pakistan and China, this program represents not only an engineering achievement, but also a strategic breakthrough in military aviation for a country that has traditionally relied heavily on foreign suppliers. The JF-17 was designed with a clear philosophy in mind: to provide Pakistan with an affordable, versatile, and modern fighter aircraft that could be produced domestically while still benefiting from international collaboration. This balance between partnership and self-reliance has proven to be one of the program's greatest strengths, as it allowed Pakistan to leverage Chinese expertise while simultaneously cultivating its own industrial and technological base. Western defense circles are intrigued by this model because it demonstrates how a country with limited resources can achieve meaningful progress in an industry typically dominated by billion-dollar budgets and exclusive alliances. What makes the JF-17 especially noteworthy is the way it has enabled Pakistan to pursue technological sovereignty. Instead of being bound entirely by the constraints of importing aircraft from larger powers, Pakistan has developed the capacity to manufacture, upgrade, and maintain its own fighter jets. This reduces vulnerability to sanctions or political pressure from suppliers, a problem that has historically plagued many nations reliant on Western military equipment. The program has also provided Pakistan with a platform to incrementally integrate new technologies such as advanced avionics, radar systems, and weapon configurations. With each new block of the JF-17, the aircraft has evolved, proving that Pakistan's defense industry can adapt quickly and continue innovating without waiting decades for entirely new designs. Western experts find this agility striking, because it contrasts with their own experiences, where major aircraft programs often take 20 years or more from concept to deployment, during which costs escalate and political disputes delay progress. Another aspect that makes the JF-17 program a subject of study is its growing success in the international arms market. Pakistan has managed to secure export contracts with countries in Africa, Asia, and potentially even Latin America, offering a reliable fighter aircraft at a price point far lower than Western models. The ability to not only meet domestic requirements but also to compete globally is something that many analysts see as a new trend in the defense industry, where affordability and accessibility matter just as much as technological superiority. For Western defense firms, the JF-17 represents a challenge, because it attracts buyers who might otherwise have turned to second-hand Western jets or downgraded variants of expensive aircraft. The fact that Pakistan, through the JF-17 program, can position itself as a supplier of modern air power solutions is remarkable, and explains why it has gained such attention from defense strategists abroad. This program is not simply about building a jet, it is about creating influence, independence, and sustainability within the defense landscape. Agile adaptation has become one of the defining features of Pakistan's jet strategy, and it is a quality that Western defense experts cannot afford to overlook. In the modern world of defense manufacturing, projects are often plagued by issues of inefficiency, bureaucracy, and spiraling costs. In contrast, Pakistan has pursued an approach that focuses on quick response, functional upgrades, and operational readiness. Instead of waiting for long cycles of development that stretch over decades, Pakistan has chosen to evolve its aircraft step by step, ensuring that its jets remain relevant on the battlefield without exhausting financial or industrial resources. This adaptability is embodied in the iterative improvements made to the JF-17 Thunder, which has been upgraded in successive blocks, each bringing in new technologies, better avionics, and enhanced combat capability. This process ensures that Pakistan's Air Force has a constantly improving tool in its arsenal, rather than a stagnant platform that risks becoming outdated before it is even deployed. Western experts view this agility as a stark contrast to their own experiences, where complex projects often collapse under the weight of unrealistic expectations and political battles over funding. This flexible strategy is not about cutting corners, but about acknowledging the reality of modern warfare and resource constraints. Pakistan's jet development philosophy accepts that no aircraft will be perfect at the start, but it can become increasingly effective through steady, affordable improvements. This stands in direct opposition to the Western model, where massive projects like stealth fighters or multi-role jets aim to include every conceivable technology from the beginning, often leading to long delays and cost overruns. By adopting a more incremental approach, Pakistan has created a jet program that is dynamic, resilient, and capable of responding to both current and emerging threats. For defense analysts in the West, this presents a compelling lesson that smaller, more manageable goals may actually deliver superior results in the long term compared to overambitious mega-projects. Agile adaptation, in this sense, does not just refer to the aircraft themselves, but also to the mindset and strategic planning behind their production. The operational benefits of this approach are equally important. Because Pakistan can upgrade its jets quickly and efficiently, it maintains a combat-ready fleet that reflects the realities of contemporary air warfare. Features like improved radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and compatibility with diverse weapons platforms have been introduced step by step, ensuring that the aircraft can counter evolving threats without needing to be replaced entirely. This also allows the Air Force to remain flexible in terms of strategy, as it can adapt its jets to the requirements of different missions and theaters of conflict. Western experts acknowledge that this adaptability is a competitive strength, as it allows Pakistan to punch above its weight in air power, despite having far fewer resources. Agile adaptation in Pakistan's jet strategy is therefore both a practical necessity and a strategic innovation, showing the world that efficiency and flexibility can be as valuable as sheer technological dominance. Export market influence has emerged as one of the most striking outcomes of Pakistan's jet strategy, and it is a factor that has caught the attention of Western defense experts who traditionally dominated the global arms trade. For decades, the export of advanced fighter jets was largely monopolized by the United States, Europe, and Russia, with only a few nations able to challenge their grip on this lucrative market. Pakistan, through its development and promotion of the JF-17 Thunder, has disrupted this landscape by offering an aircraft that is modern, affordable, and serviceable, giving many developing nations an alternative to Western or Russian options. Countries in Africa, Asia, and parts of the Middle East have already shown interest or signed deals to acquire the JF-17, and this represents a major shift because it demonstrates that Pakistan is no longer just a consumer of foreign defense technology, but a credible exporter in its own right. This influence extends beyond the economic gains of selling jets. It builds political and military relationships, strengthens alliances, and expands Pakistan's role in shaping defense markets in regions where Western powers previously dominated without much competition. What makes this export strategy especially noteworthy is that it capitalizes on a gap left open by Western defense industries. Nations with limited budgets or modest defense needs often find Western aircraft far too expensive, both in terms of procurement and long-term maintenance. For example, jets like the F-35 come with costs so high that they remain inaccessible to all but the wealthiest states, leaving many countries to rely on outdated fleets or second-hand purchases. Pakistan has recognized this gap and stepped into it with the JF-17, which combines affordability with modern performance. It does not aim to outmatch the most advanced jets in the world, but instead offers a balance of capability and cost that is far more realistic for the majority of buyers. By doing so, Pakistan is not only securing its own defense economy, but is also redefining what many nations expect from the fighter jet market. Western experts acknowledge this because it challenges the traditional assumption that only the biggest defense corporations can dictate the pace and direction of global arms trade. The ripple effects of this export market influence are also geopolitical in nature. By supplying jets to other nations, Pakistan enhances its diplomatic leverage, forging deeper military ties with countries that may later rely on it for training, spare parts, and technological cooperation. This creates a long-term network of influence that extends far beyond the initial sale of aircraft. Western defense analysts recognize that such connections often lead to broader strategic alignments, potentially shifting alliances or weakening the monopoly that Western nations have historically enjoyed in certain regions. The ability of Pakistan to not only produce but also export jets successfully has therefore become an important case study in how emerging powers can carve a niche in global defense markets. It is not simply a matter of selling planes, it is about creating sustainable influence in an arena once thought to be reserved for the wealthiest and most technologically advanced nations. Strategic self-reliance is one of the central pillars of Pakistan's jet strategy, and it is a development that Western defense experts watch closely because it demonstrates how a country with limited resources can build independence in a highly complex and competitive field. For much of its history, Pakistan relied heavily on imports of aircraft and spare parts from larger defense powers, which often left its air force vulnerable to political pressures, embargoes, or delays in supply chains. The JF-17 program marked a turning point in this dynamic, as it gave Pakistan the ability to not only assemble and maintain its own jets, but also to take an active role in their design, modification, and upgrades. This level of control provides a measure of sovereignty in defense planning that many countries aspire to but few achieve, particularly those without enormous industrial bases. By producing jets domestically, Pakistan reduces dependency on foreign suppliers, and this reduction of reliance becomes a strategic advantage because it lessens the risk of external disruptions in times of crisis. Western experts note this carefully, as it demonstrates that building a self-sufficient defense model is not limited to economic giants, but can also be achieved by states that focus on efficiency, partnerships, and long-term planning. What makes Pakistan's pursuit of self-reliance especially significant is the balance it has managed to strike between collaboration and autonomy. While the JF-17 program was developed in partnership with China, Pakistan ensured that it retained the capacity to assemble and modify the aircraft within its own facilities, giving it a strong role in the production process. This means that future decisions about upgrades or adaptations can be made without waiting for external approval or assistance, which is a key marker of independence in defense production. The ability to customize aircraft according to national requirements is not only an economic benefit, but also a strategic one, as it allows Pakistan to adapt its air force to its unique security challenges. In Western defense industries, where programs are often locked into rigid contracts and multinational arrangements, this kind of flexibility is rare. Analysts see Pakistan's model as proof that countries can collaborate without compromising their long-term independence, a concept that may influence how smaller or mid-sized powers approach defense partnerships in the future. The broader implications of strategic self-reliance extend beyond the technical details of aircraft production. By developing the capacity to sustain its own fleet, Pakistan creates long-term resilience for its air force, ensuring that it can remain operational regardless of international political shifts. This resilience also enhances deterrence, as adversaries know that Pakistan's ability to maintain its jets is not easily undermined by outside actors. Moreover, self-reliance fosters growth in domestic industries, creating skilled jobs, technological expertise, and an ecosystem that supports innovation. Western experts study this carefully because it demonstrates that strategic independence in defense can be achieved incrementally through focused programs rather than massive industrial revolutions. Pakistan's jet strategy thus represents a roadmap for how nations can protect themselves from external vulnerabilities while building a foundation for future technological advancement and defense sustainability. The doctrine of smart power within Pakistan's jet strategy is one of the most compelling aspects that Western defense experts have been analyzing, because it offers an alternative vision of military modernization that does not rely on overwhelming force or extravagant spending. Instead of chasing after the most advanced and most expensive technologies at any cost, Pakistan has adopted an approach that emphasizes practicality, balance, and adaptability. Its focus has been on producing platforms that are affordable, serviceable, and scalable, allowing the country to maintain a credible deterrent without burdening itself with crippling expenses. The JF-17 Thunder is the most visible embodiment of this doctrine, designed not to compete directly with the world's most cutting-edge fifth-generation fighters, but to provide enough capability at a manageable cost to meet real-world operational needs. This philosophy reflects a recognition that in modern conflicts, effectiveness is not simply determined by who has the most expensive equipment, but by who can deploy sustainable, reliable, and flexible forces over the long term. For Western experts, this concept of smart power raises important questions about the efficiency and priorities of their own defense industries, which often equate superiority with complexity and high price tags. This doctrine is also significant because it integrates both hard and soft dimensions of defense. On the hard power side, Pakistan ensures that its jets remain combat-ready, equipped with evolving technologies such as modern radar, electronic warfare systems, and diverse weapon compatibility. On the soft power side, the affordability and exportability of these jets give Pakistan a form of influence in the international arena that goes beyond mere battlefield strength. By offering an aircraft that smaller nations can realistically acquire and maintain, Pakistan extends its reach diplomatically and strategically, establishing itself as a partner for those who might otherwise be excluded from the modern fighter jet market. This blend of military capability with international positioning is precisely what makes it smart power. It is not about brute force, but about maximizing impact with available resources. Western analysts find this noteworthy because it reflects a pragmatic understanding of global power dynamics, where success often comes not from having the most, but from using what you have with the greatest efficiency. The long-term sustainability of the smart power doctrine is another aspect that adds to its importance. By creating systems that are affordable and upgradable, Pakistan ensures that its air force will not be paralyzed by budgetary constraints or technological obsolescence. Continuous block upgrades to the JF-17, for instance, illustrate how a single platform can be adapted over time to remain relevant, rather than being abandoned in favor of prohibitively expensive replacements. This sustainable model contrasts sharply with Western programs that often produce jets so costly that they cannot be purchased in sufficient numbers, creating gaps in operational readiness. For Western defense experts, the Pakistani example of smart power shows that the future of air defense may not rest entirely on hyper-advanced, high-cost platforms, but on a more balanced approach where affordability, adaptability, and strategic influence work together to create lasting strength. In conclusion, Pakistan's jet strategy has become a subject of quiet but serious study in Western defense circles because it challenges long-standing assumptions about how military power should be built and sustained. Through cost-effective innovation, the development of the JF-17 Thunder, agile adaptation, growing export influence, strategic self-reliance, and the doctrine of smart power, Pakistan has demonstrated that capability and credibility in air defense do not have to come with crippling costs or endless delays. Instead, it has offered a model of practicality, resilience, and sustainability, one that not only secures its own national defense, but also reshapes the dynamics of the global arms market. For Western experts, the lesson is clear. The future of air power may belong not to those who spend the most, but to those who innovate the smartest.